So, seeing that here in me, my sensations, my body, my mind is impermanent, continuously changing, suffering, because it is continuously changing, it is suffering. Again, the word suffering, the Sanskrit word is dukkha. It has been translated in English as suffering. Suffering does not necessarily mean like cold out in the cold, hungry, and no food to eat type of suffering. We have, every moment we have suffering. We don't realize it. We don't see it. Like we sit now, after 20 minutes, your knee starts aching without you doing anything. you don't have to do anything. Your knees, even if you're sitting in a chair, your bum starts aching after a while. And then what do? We shift, right? We shift. We escape from it. But that is not a solution, because the new position is going to ache anyway after another 20 minutes. So you haven't really solved the problem. All you have done is escaped from it. And that is the human strategy. All our life, from birth till death, we continuously try to escape from the suffering that is there. Continuously try to escape from it. And that does not free us from suffering. You're just escaping, and then it catches you again. Then again you escape from it, and it catches up with you again. And that's the normal strategy. And that is why the Buddha made it sure that in his Four Noble Truths, the first was the truth of suffering. Many people think the Buddha's message is pessimistic, but that's not true. If you want to be free from suffering, you have to realize what is suffering first. If you want to be free from a tiger in a forest, you have to see the tiger first. Then you can catch it and do whatever you have to do with it. If you keep on running away from the tiger and the tiger keeps sniffing and coming after you, you're not going to be free from it. And so the doctor, for example, if you have cancer, the doctor has to tell you have cancer. He can't beat around the bush. If you have to be cured, you have to know, I have cancer and I need to do chemotherapy, right? So that's why the Buddha made number one, the truth of suffering. And in Theravada tradition, suffering is part of the insight meditation. And then anatma means no self. And in the Mahayana tradition, these are also used, but emphasis is laid on emptiness. Shunyata is the Sanskrit word, emptiness, and this is also found in the Theravada texts. The meditation on sunyata, and that is the Pali word for it, sunyata, and is found in the Theravada text too. But somehow through the centuries, the emphasis was more on impermanence, suffering, and no self. In the Mahayana tradition, the emphasis is on emptiness. And meditation on emptiness is the Vipashyana of Mahayana. But again, emptiness is not hollowness, vacuum, nothingness, there's nothing out there, the type of meaning. You have to learn it from an authentic master, and it takes time to understand what is meant by emptiness in the Mahayana tradition. And then you use that to meditate and see how the table is empty, how my body is empty, how my sensations are empty, how my feelings are empty, how my perceptions are empty, how my conditionings are empty, and how my mind is empty. And the five aggregates, the five skandhas, is the world, because the form aggregate includes the world, the form out here as well, not just my body. So it includes the whole world. So what we call the world is empty. But you need first to understand what is meant by emptiness in the Mahayana tradition. Then only you can use it for meditation, to use it as a means to penetrate through. But emptiness is also only a skillful means. And like the Buddha said, like in the Theravada Sutta, that when you cross the river, you leave the ferry aside. You don't carry the ferry around and go to across the other shore as well. In the same way, emptiness is a method, a skillful means to penetrate through our ignorance. And what is our ignorance? We just said it is a tendency to grasp at the concept of a self. So by seeing that there is no self, there or here, over and over again, over and over again. Now by seeing, I mean, there are levels of seeing. There's the conceptual seeing, which is the first step, of course, because we are all conceptual. We start from concepts. So there's conceptual seeing, and then there is non-conceptual seeing, seeing directly. When you see non-conceptually in emptiness, then in the Mahayan tradition, that is the first enlightenment. And that can happen only through Vipashyana, not through Samatha meditations. And now coming to the Vajrayana tradition. The Vajrayana tradition uses mandalas and deities. So again, this requires a whole lot of explanation. And in the Mahayan tradition, there are many kinds of deities. There's, at one level, there are what could be called in English language gods and goddesses in different realms. And Mahayana, Vajrayana, Buddhism accepts those. There are gods and goddesses existing in different realms, but not in the way of other religious systems, that they are like almighty power, creator of the universe, that kind of thing. In Buddhism, there is no creator of the universe. But there are gods and goddesses in various realms, and who are they? They are just like you and me. If you have lived a good life, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or a Sufi or what you are. If you have lived a good life, helping others, being kind, gentle to others, and so on, when you die, you go to heaven. Right? I mean, that's Christianity says that, Islam says that, and so does Buddhism and Hinduism and all systems. When you are in heaven, you are a god or a goddess. Just like when we are here on earth, we are humans. So gods and goddesses are simply beings, sentient beings who have achieved the heavenly realm through lots of good work and helping others, being kind to others, donations, whatever, those kind of things. So they achieve the heavenly realm, but it's not eternal. Just like here, we are born as humans, and we live as humans, and we die as humans. You die, when you reach the heavenly realms, you are born as a deva. Deva is the Sanskrit word. You live as a deva, and then you die as a deva. And depending on your karma, you come back to the earth or wherever, depending on your karmic situation. So there are these kinds of gods and goddesses. And in the ancient, both Theravada and Mahayana sutras, there are many of these gods and goddesses that came down to ask the Buddha questions and took refuge with him. And these deities are accepted in Mahayana as special deities who can help you. Not as they cannot liberate you. You have to liberate yourself through the practice, but they can help you. And then, and they are called dharmapalas. Dharmapalas means protectors of the dharma. They protect the dharma. Then there are another category of deities who are not really deities, but bodhisattvas, practitioners who have practiced for eons and eons and reached very high levels. They have not become Buddhas yet, but they are almost Buddhas. They are called bodhisattvas, like Manjushri, Tara. These deities are bodhisattvas. And you can become bodhisattvas too if you practice. If you practice long enough and reach that stage, you can become bodhisattvas. There are, in the bodhisattva system, there are 10 levels. First level, second level, and so on, and 10th level. And when you go beyond the 10th level, then you become a Buddha. Right? And Tara, Manjushri, Avalokiteshwar, these are 10th level bodhisattvas. So they are not really gods and goddesses as such, but they are very high level beings. So they are as good as gods and goddesses in a way. And then there is the Buddha. And then there is one category of deities which are more archetypal forms of our subconscious mind, like Vajrayana, Chakra Samvara, Kala Chakra. These are deities that are used for meditation. And they are your mind itself, not something separate from your mind. To go deeply into this, you need to have got the empowerment of whichever of the deities, and then only are you anybody allowed to teach you, to give you instruction related to them. But this much I can tell you, that they are your mind itself, not something separate from the mind. So when you do the meditation on the Kala Chakra, because Kala Chakra is very famous, I'm sure you've heard of Dalai Lama giving Kala Chakra and so on, those kind of things, or Vajra or Chakra Samvara, you're meditating on your own mind, if you understand it properly. Now, the Samatha is when the mandala is created, visualized, and that's called the creation stage. Creation stage, where the entire mandala of the main deity, yourself as the main deity, and then the sub-deities around, and so on, and the colors and hands and implements and those things, and your mind is absorbed in it. That is the Samatha aspect. And then when the deity is dissolved in your meditation, and there's nothing but just formless mind by itself, and if you have been instructed on and given the transmission of what is called the nature of mind, then you remain in the nature of mind like this. That is the Vipashyana aspect. So that is called the completion stage. And in the tantras, in the Buddhist tantras, by using the generation stage and the completion stage, generation stage and completion stage, like two twigs being rubbed, and the fire of wisdom will arise. So that is a very simplified form of Samatha and Vipashyana in the Vajrayana tradition. And it is heavily based on recognizing the nature of mind. And when you become the deity, which is the creation stage, that is the display of what is called luminosity and emptiness. So you recognize the nature of mind right there. When that is dissolved, the entire mandala is completely dissolved, then there is this formless mind, and you recognize the nature of mind. That is again the unity of luminosity and emptiness. And so emptiness is the main part there. When many people, I think, in the West, because there are so many books about awareness in the Vedantic system, and also a lot of Western mystical people who've had mystical experiences, they talk about awareness. What is missing, according to Buddhism, is emptiness. And without emptiness, there is no Vipassana. Without Vipassana, there is no enlightenment. Just remaining in awareness is Samatha. It quietens the mind. You can reach a very high stage of quiet in mind. You can be very blissful, and if you don't know what enlightenment is, you can think you are enlightened. Because it's so blissful, so thoughtless and expansive, like the mind becomes the whole universe, infinite, you can think that you are enlightened. And Buddhism is very clear about this, that is not enlightenment. That is just a very high stage of samatha, meditation. So, the word luminosity is used as a technical word in Buddhist systems, and it means the capacity of the mind to know. more than just awareness. The capacity of the mind to know. And you have to combine it with emptiness meditation before you can break through the grasping to a really existing self. And only when that is let go, then you can become what the Buddhists call enlightenment. Enlightened. So when we grasp to the concept of a really existing self, and that is ignorance. So when you use emptiness to penetrate through that, then gradually you let go. And then when you let go totally, you are enlightened. But to degrees, you are not a Buddha automatically. A Buddha is a very complex thing. Most people think Buddha is just an enlightened being, but he's not just an enlightened being. He was an enlightened being according to Buddhist tradition and according to the stories found within the Buddhist tradition told by himself 3 immeasurable eons ago. Immeasurable kalpa, that's the word, Sanskrit word kalpa. You might have heard of the word kalpa, is eons. In English, the closest English word is eons. And immeasurable means 60 zeros. So 3 immeasurable eons ago, he was a high-level yogi, and he had all the psychical powers and those kind of things. And he made a motivation in front of Kashyap Buddha that may I become a Buddha like you. And he started his journey. And for 3 immeasurable eons, he practiced. He was born as gods and goddesses many times, as humans as many times, back and forth, rolling. And according to the story he told himself in the Jataka. And finally, he became a Buddha. So a Buddha is like, according to Buddhism, somebody that has really reached the acme of spiritual development. And that is way, way, way out there. So for us, he's just like only a beacon, because we still have to go 3 eons, immeasurable eons away. But he's a beacon. But he has himself said, I have given you the teachings. You follow the teachings. You follow the teachings, you reach where I've reached. And so we say, for example, whenever we take refuge, in the Mahayogi tradition, whenever we start anything, we have practices, or we have meditations, or teaching letters, we go to refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, until enlightenment. After you're enlightened, meaning after you become a Buddha, you don't go to refuge in the Buddha anymore. All right? And then there's another point we've been discussing with Jamie a long time here, is the concept of faith. I think in the West, after the Industrial Revolution, faith was kind of thrown out with the bathwater, completely thrown out. And in the East, fortunately, the culture maintained it, even though science trickled in, and most of what is called education, whether in the East or anywhere in the world, is Western education. Is Western education. The culture maintained it, and you have to have strong faith. The faith in the Buddha, in the Dharma, in the Sangha, to achieve high levels. You cannot not have faith and just practice meditation and imagine that you can one day become a Buddha. But I think because faith has become a kind of a anti-scientific thing, and probably because of history in Christianity and so on, faith has become a kind of a questionable word in Western societies. But faith does not mean you are 100% certain. So there is room to doubt. In the Buddhist, at least in the Buddhist context, there is a story of Sariputra. Sariputra and Maudgalayan are the 2 main disciples of the Buddha. Like if you have seen Buddha statues, sometimes you'll see two monks sitting two sides of the Buddha statue. Those are Sariputra and Nautgala. Every Buddha has two main disciples, major disciples, and they are very advanced beings. And some of the people asked Sariputra, "Do you have faith in the Buddha?" And he said, "No." And they were very surprised. He said, "You don't have faith in the Buddha?" And he said, "I don't need faith. I know." So when you know, you don't need faith. When you don't know, you need faith. Most people forget that faith means you don't know, but you know there are many factors that are involved which you know the probability are higher that this is going to happen if I follow this. That is what faith is. We have faith in science. It's like neuroscience says that we are hardwired to have faith in something or other anyway. We have faith in science. None of you have really seen atoms. Well, we believe atoms exist. But you haven't seen atoms. You just believe because the scientists say so. In the same way, we believe because the Buddha says so. Right? And belief does not mean 100% sure that what the Buddha says is correct. There's always room for doubt. That's where you need faith. Then, so faith, there's a leap in faith. And when you know, you don't need faith anymore. You know it. So, in Vipashyana and Samatha, in the Buddhist system, in the Vajrayana, it is the creation stage and the completion stage. And to practice those practices, you need empowerment of the particular deity like Vajra or Kala Chakra or Chakra Sambhara or whatever you want. Each of the deities have different qualities of the mind, and different emotional tones, and also if you are going to practice them, you probably have a link with them from your former lives. So you somehow end up taking the empowerment from some teacher, that particular deity. And then you need the instructions on how to use that deity for meditation. And part of the instruction is recognizing the nature of mind. So you need instructions to recognize, a transmission from an authentic teacher to recognize directly the nature of your mind. Not directly actually, but we use the word directly. It's more like seeing your own face in a clear mirror for the first time. And you use that to meditate until you actually see your own face, which means non-conceptually. In the beginning, we are all conceptual beings. And so, no matter what transmission is given, there's a very subtle conceptual layer there. And that's why the metaphor used is seeing your face clearly for the first time. And then using that nature of mind as Vipashyana. You gradually penetrate through and then see directly. When you see directly, you become what is called first level Bodhisattva. Then, as you keep on practicing, you take second level, third level, fourth level, and so on. And the 10th level, where beings like Tara, Manjushri are right now. And the first level is called the path of seeing. Well, that's the first time that you actually see emptiness, not just conceptualize, no matter how subtle it is. And that is the Vipassana of the Mahayana and Vajrayana tradition. So that's Samatha and Vipassana in the Vajrayana tradition. Now, any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer if I know them. I don't claim I know everything.